Hey there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for Hey Little Magpie using 49 and Market ARToptions Spice. So I've used some of this collection before, but I've got plenty left and I'm going to use a photo taken recently of myself. So as the base paper I'm going to use Fuchsia Grove. It's the B side, it's quite pink on the other side, and the paper there with the leaves on that I've just torn is called Russet, and I'm going to use those as the main two papers in this layout. I've put a couple of journaling cards behind the photograph and I'm just going to bring in a lot more of the collection because I want to make some clusters. So I'm just going to work through what I've got and see if I can find a place for it to fit. I particularly like that chipboard word that I've got there. It's from the Chipboard Words pack called Gather. It's not a word I use very easily on a scrapbook layout, so I think it would work really well. As I don't know whether you can see from the photo, I've got a handful of leaves in my hand that was taken that I picked up during a woodland walk. So I think Gather works really well. So I'm just having a good look at anything that's really in blues, greens, browns and a bit of orange to see what will go with the photograph. This is a really versatile collection. There's lots of pinks and purples in it too, but they're not particularly colours that I want to put with this photograph. So I'm just having a good look through, see if anything makes the first cut. If you've watched me before, you'll know that I can't help myself and I like to see what I've got. I like to get as much on as I can. I'm not a minimal scrapper by any means, but I hate to see something when I'm tidying away that I could have used on the layout. So there's lots of leaves that I've already pushed out of the laser cuts, and some of those are definitely going to make it on. So the laser cut elements, there's a couple of packs that I've taken pieces out of. One of them is the elements and the another one is the, I think, wildflowers. So I'm just going to tear this russet paper. It's about 4 inches wide and I'm just taking off some of the white there because you could actually see the darker colour on the other side of the paper, which was the brown, and I didn't want that to show. So I'm actually going to just tear some other pieces of paper that I've got left as well, all from this range, and I'm going to tuck those in down the side. So that's quite cream, so it's quite similar to the colour of the background, but I'm going to add some more layers in. So I'm just trying to figure out how many layers to tear and how it fits with the photograph itself. So I'm having a look at what other papers I've got that I've already torn. I don't know, it's a psychological thing, but because I've already torn a paper, I feel like I can tear it again, but rather than tearing a whole 12 by 12 piece. Are you the same as me when it comes to that? Are you happy just to rip into any 12 by 12 you've got left? So I've used both sides of that brown there, so that's quite funny to think that I've put those in. And I've gone back to looking at the photograph. I quite like the way those journaling cards work. There's a frame there as well. And I've got a little tab and I'm going to add the date. So in my mind, I'm thinking of doing a couple of clusters. So I'm thinking, shall I have the photo at the top and a cluster at the base of the title? Or do I want to bring it back down the bottom and have it there? So I'm just going to push out some of the laser cuts, see what I like, see where I like it. I keep gravitating to the photo at the bottom and that is eventually where it lands. But I like to look at all my options as I go along. I don't get the opportunity to plan my videos, particularly before that I make them. So what you see is what you get. So that's why you find it's a bit speeded up with my hands, because I'm thinking as I'm working. I haven't got stuff ready apart from printing the photo and having a bit of an idea in my mind. Now I really like these lacy laser cuts, and there was 5 in this set, and I picked out 3, the green, the orange and the blue, and I think they work really well separating the torn papers. So I'm definitely going to add those in some way. I've just tucked them in for now. I'm not very good at committing, so things will get stuck down later once I finish shuffling them around. But I like the way that looks. I think that leaves a bit of space on the left, and now I'm going to do potentially 3 clusters, one either side of the photograph and one at the top as well. So some of these die cuts, I've popped them out, but they're actually quite big. So to spread them out a little bit, I'm going to just trim them down with my scissors. You don't have to use them as they are. You can even cut just individual leaves off them if that's what suits you for your layout. So don't think you need to use them just as they are. But also I wanted to keep the colours similar in the 3 clusters. They do say that odd numbers work really well, so I think 3 works perfectly, and the title brings you back down to the photo, so it will be fine with the 3 clusters. But if I actually cut some of these laser cuts up, it will actually, with the similar colours, I think it will help balance the 3 of them out. So the 2 clusters at the top will be definitely smaller, and there'll be more in the one by the photo. So I brought in a couple of circle chipboard there. One says Happy Day, one says Good Times. They go with the colour theme. They go with the colour theme that I'm using, and I think they're a nice addition. I did look at some of the white journaling strips, phrases and things, but I felt they were too white, and I probably would end up inking them. So I've left them off, and I've gone with the circles. So I've decided I'm going to start to commit and actually stick things down. I've moved it a little bit more to the left, and I'm going to start by just adding 1 piece of tape behind the largest piece of paper, leaving the left hand side free so that I can start to tuck things down. I'm only going to add a minimal amount of adhesive to each, just so that I can start to tuck the layers in. Get myself in a pickle because some of them are shorter than others, but I do sort myself out in the end. I think I have to lift the brown one back out to get the creamy one in, and they overlap each other a little bit, and obviously I still want to have room to get some of these edges in, so I want a little bit of that blue in. I may even break it up and actually have it in 2 pieces. You'll never know. I definitely tear the orange and only have a smaller part of that, and I've just added just a bit of double-sided tape to keep that in place. And I'm going to add a little bit of green in a couple of places too. And I think it just adds that little bit of interest. It brings the blue back in as well from the, it's going to be around the photograph. There's blue in the photo, and some of the leaves are quite bluish as well. So I think that brings it back in. I did have some blue papers, and I did look at them at the very beginning, but I felt they might be too much. So because of the torn edges, I'm just going to distress these layers behind the photograph. Now, what I will say is I would really recommend you check out this range at Hey Little Magpie. They have lots and lots of 49 and Market, and lots within each of the ranges as well. There's so much to choose from. They've also got lots of American crafts, simple stories, and anything you can think of. Plus they've got some things that belong just to Hey Little Magpie, some exclusives as well. So I really would recommend you check them out. Also check them out on Instagram and on their Facebook group as well, and there's lots of inspiration out there for you. So I've just found this really dark leaf on here, and I'm going to lift that out. I really like that, but I'm actually looking for something which I'll come back to in a minute on the laser cut sheets. Let's see if I can show you. I'm going to cut a piece off the laser cut background, so in theory it's scrap, and I'm going to bring in some washi tape just to add a bit of an edge to it. So I'm going to put the washi tape on both sides. I don't want to cover the leaf in the centre, so it's literally a cluster of 3 leaves, I suppose is the best phrase. And I'm just making it a little bit bigger. I'm just cutting off any bits that are sticky. And I'm going to use that later on when I've got my clusters in place. So I'm going to stick this photo down now. I'm happy with that. I know where the title is going to go. So this is actually coming together without too much heartache for me. So quite pleased when it comes to that. Just adding some tape behind the photo there so the title will sit nicely. And yet again, I've split up another one of the laser cuts just so I can add some of this really dark colour in each of the clusters. I think it's going to add something, just the contrast of the different colours really. But that dark one I really like. They're very fine, so the one piece of advice I would give you is if you take, or when you take the laser cuts from the packaging, just take your time, because they are very fine, some of them, and they are very delicate, but they are so worth it when you get them out and get them on your layouts. So I've nearly finished sorting out the clusters, and when I do, I'll get everything cleared off and I'll get those stuck down off camera. I'll have used a little bit of foam pads to do that, just to lift them up, give a little bit of dimension. So then I'm going to bring in that piece of the laser cut background, you remember at the beginning, and this is tea dye. This is a brownish Distress Oxide, and that is one of the mini blending brushes from Hey Little Magpie. in the store. And I'm just going to very gently stencil using the waste really. And I'm just going to add some like leaf shadows really around the two clusters on the right hand side. No point doing it around the central one because you won't see it on top of that russet pattern paper. But I've turned that over. Did you see that? So I've got the leaves going in different directions. I mean, you could use other bits of the laser cut background instead if you want. But I was just going to stick to these 3 leaves. I don't do all 3 in all the places. But with the fine brush, it was really easy to just get in and do the ones that I needed. So I'm going to add some foam on the back of the title, get that into position, then I'll have more of an idea where I'm going. With those, I haven't obviously stuck down those top leaves, but I'm going to add some more stenciling around them. So I'm just cutting up some foam pads just to add on the title. I'm going to layer one word over the other. Just enough that you can still read both words. So I'm just adding a little bit of foam on the back of the top of the letters of the word autumn. I thought gather autumn, that works. Colours work really well as well. So I'm going to stick that down. Then I've got an idea of putting this cluster together. In fact, I realised that I hadn't stuck down anything of the lower cluster. I think that's because I wanted to do some stenciling around it. So if I can get this into position, then I'm well away with getting some more stenciling on. Really like the way that looks at the top, and I do go out and add even more. So I'm just bringing in some foam there just to add on the back. I do like using foam, and I do spend a lot of time cutting it up and peeling the backs off. I never use whole pads unless it's for a big shape, and then if it's a really big shape I tend to use like craft foam that you can find in the children's department of a craft store. So you'll always find bits of the foam pads, the backing around my feet because I'm standing to scrap. I don't know whether you sit or you stand. I would like to be a sitting scrapper, but I tend to stand up. I think it helps me pick things up and use things, and I get a better view over the top. And it's just a habit that's developed. So I'm standing at a like kitchen worktop, but it's a high one, so consequently it doesn't hurt my back too much to do this. So I'm just adding these extra leaves in there. They look a little bit like feathers, don't they? But they've got a nice yellowy colour on them, which ties in really nicely with the photograph. And I'm just taking off some little bits of foam there just to add them in to that. So I'm coming back with my stencil again and a little bit more of the same dye. I don't know whether you've noticed, but there's a piece of paper by the side of the ink pad, and I keep literally like tapping it off just to take the first flush of ink off the brush, just so I want like a shadowy effect. I don't want it to be really bright or really strong. So by just knocking a little bit of the ink off, I find that it's given it a little bit of a softer look. The brush really helps. Being a blending brush, it means I can direct it straight through the holes. And I really like, as you can see, I've added more and more. So that's the layout finished. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you see, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you here again real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.